Park Live.
The stream is live.
All right, let's tackle the final injury report of the week. People were waiting with bated breath for this, myself included. A lot of transactional stuff today with the Packers, not only in who they signed, who they put on IR, who they elevated to the game day roster, but the doubtful and questionable delegations. That's definitely not the right word, but that's the first word that popped into my head. Designations. There we go. For tomorrow's very important game between the 8-2 Detroit Lions and the 4-6 Green Bay Packers. So let's first start with the roster moves they made today. They signed running back James Robinson and wide receiver Bo Melton to the active roster. So those aren't game day elevations. They're on the 53. I believe you get a minimum of 3 game checks. Doesn't mean you have to be on the active roster for 3 weeks. Just you get 3 game checks. Luke Musgrave and Emmanuel Wilson to injured reserve, so they're out at least 4 games. Luke Musgrave with the lacerated kidney, Emmanuel Wilson with a shoulder injury. And the 2 game day elevations are Benny Sapp III, the undrafted rookie safety, and fullback Henry Pearson, the undrafted rookie fullback from Appalachian State. Our guy, John Kuhn, he was thrilled. He's a Henry Pearson guy. He said, the fullback's back, baby. Now, that before the doubtful designation for Josiah DeGuara came out, we could tell by Henry Pearson's elevation that Josiah probably wasn't going to play because Henry Pearson kind of fills that H-back role. DeGuara is doubtful with a hip injury. Then let's get to the other guys on the final game status report. Out, Aaron Jones and Darnell Savage. Doubtful, Josiah DeGuara, as I mentioned. Questionable, Jair Alexander, Devondre Campbell, A.J. Dillon, Rudy Ford, and Dontavion Wicks. Now, it's notable, and as I've been saying all week, these are estimations for participation levels because the Packers didn't actually practice this week. They held a walkthrough again today. Devondre Campbell was upgraded from an estimated DNP to an estimated full participant. So that would bode well for his game status tomorrow, even though he's listed as questionable. Jair Alexander, estimated as limited all week. A.J. Dillon and Rudy Ford, estimated as limited all week. Dontavion Wicks, upgraded to a estimated limited participant. He was estimated as DNP the last 2 days. Guys, when they're working through the concussion protocol, they can start practicing again, even if they're still in the protocol. So I wouldn't say that just because Wicks was an estimated limited participant that he cleared the protocol. It would be tough on a short week. All concussions are different. I understand that. But I think there's a reason Bo Melton was signed to the active roster, especially with, Wicks questionable with that concussion. But some interesting transactional moves. Which ones stick out to you, Doug? And as I say that, Marquette was just down by 10 with 4 minutes left. They're now down by 4 with 2.5 minutes left. Zach Edey just made a foul shot, so 76-71. Anyway, we're just trying to service all of our. Oh,
without a doubt. And we've got Badgers basketball in Milwaukee and in not in Madison, just in Milwaukee on our flagship 97.3 The Game. That's coming up at 6:30. But if you want to continue on, you can find us on the iHeartRadio app until 7 o'clock, the normal time that we would go, because college basketball, messes with everybody's schedule. But now Marquette only down by 3 points. So we will keep you posted as far as that game is concerned. The one that, I don't know, surprised me the most, I don't know if it surprised me the most, but it intrigues me the most, perhaps, is maybe the Bo Melton signing. And, I think there's some talent there. And we saw a little bit of it in training camp. So I don't know how many reps he's going to get, but I think that's, a little bit intriguing to me, a little bit interesting to me. The one that, it didn't happen today, but earlier in the week, I don't know what the injury situation is. I know he's questionable with A.J. Dillon. I suspect that he's probably going to play because they are so thin at the running back position that I don't know that you're necessarily going to see a lot of Patrick Taylor, but I think it's interesting that, he knows the system. He came back for the game checks, which I respect because, 3 weeks of game checks is far more than you're going to make an entire season on the practice squad. So I get it. I understand why he wanted to leave Green Bay and maybe try to get a fresh start somewhere else, but game checks are game checks, man. So I hope he gets some carries. I'd like to see him get some carries, but if A.J. Dillon is banged up and dinged up and still not feeling close to 100% by tomorrow morning's kickoff, yeah, I think that you could see a couple of guys on the offense at those skill positions get a couple of extra reps that you otherwise wouldn't necessarily see.
Just to clarify, we're on the air for the full hour tonight, correct?
Yes, just not in Milwaukee.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I was going to say AJ Dillon too, because the fact that he was estimated as a limited participant all week in these walkthroughs, practices, whatever you want to call them, that is a little concerning because he's literally the last man standing from who they went into last week with. Obviously no
Right.
Jones, no Wilson, Patrick Taylor and James Robinson both signed to the active roster. We've talked all week about the Packers needing to get this running game going to extend possessions, give their defense a break. And I've mentioned 100 times already this week that the inability to do that in the first matchup between these two teams was kind of what dragged the Packers down in the first half, because the Lions kept scoring and the Packers couldn't even give their defense a break. You got to be able to extend some of these drives, get first downs. And I don't know how much faith, with all due respect, that I have in Patrick Taylor and James Robinson to do that. This is James Robinson's first call up to the active roster this year. And Patrick Taylor's obviously played some spot snaps for these guys over the years. I believe he scored a touchdown in Detroit a couple of years ago. But if A.J. Dillon can't go, things get real dicey. They already are pretty dicey, but they would get real dicey if he can't go.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I think they are really dicey right now. And just kind of looking at this Detroit Lions team as well, he brought up the week 4 game where it was over at halftime. I know the final score indicated a 2-touchdown victory by Detroit. It wasn't that close. I mean, it was autopilot for everybody in the second half. It was just a disaster. Everything went poorly for Green Bay in that game, and that was at Lambeau Field. So you've got Detroit. I wouldn't say they're used to playing on Thanksgiving, but they are. But this is also the second time, like the Packers, that they've got a short week. Short weeks mess up everybody. But I'm certainly the first-year players know or don't know necessarily what it's like to play on Thanksgiving for them, but they don't have that many first-year players. It's a good team. They've got a great offensive line. They've got very good skill position players. Jared Goff is having a decent season. He's a decent quarterback who I think just had some bad situations, especially when he was with the Los Angeles Rams. Maybe his last season there, he's kind of run out of town a little bit. But Amon-Ra St. Brown is an absolute stud. They've got some guys that really get after it. Aiden Hutchinson on the other side of the ball. He will get to the quarterback if the Packers offensive line is porous in any way, shape, or form. I mean, this is a real deal. This is the real deal Detroit Lions. They're 8-2. I know they've had a couple of close wins. I know that the Bears game kind of gave both Bears fans, Packers fans, and Lions fans some pause, but they still came out with a victory. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs in week 1, but the Chiefs were so banged up. They didn't have many of their, Travis Kelce wasn't able to play in that game. So, I mean, it's just been a really good season for, I think, a really good, legitimate team right now. I mean, they've won 16 out of their last 20 games, for crying out loud. If you go back to last year, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, it doesn't take a guy who didn't take a math class in college and myself to be able to figure that one out.
Didn't make you do that?
One.
Yeah, Marquette's down by 1 with 20 seconds left. 3-point play.
Oh, you're ahead of me. I have
I
have 27, 24, 23, 22. All right, so don't ruin it for me.
All right. No, it's close, but I'm a little bit ahead of you. That's okay.
Fair enough. I put out a call for some questions on Twitter, some Packers questions, and if you want to ask a Marquette question, that's fine. I'll do my best. Let's get to some of them. Oh, and I will say, when I tweeted out the injury report earlier, it was funny. Someone responded, "This Dan Campbell instills toughness in his team. They only have one guy on the injury report, and we have all these guys. We're not tough." Yeah, next time, Aaron Jones, when you get tackled next time, try not to get your knee twisted up and your MCL sprained. Yeah, that's a lack of toughness right there. Come on, people. What are we doing? But I think, I know Jonah Jackson, the Lions left guard, the only guy on their injury report, he's out. That was quick to tackle the Lions side of things. But let's get to these questions. At Mark J. Gregory, Wicks plays yes or no? I have no idea. I'm not going to guess because that would be guessing with how a guy's brain is healing. I don't know how. I should say I don't know if he even suffered a concussion. I'm assuming he did, but we don't know how he's progressing through the protocol. From @Sam_Grabon. What's up with Kenneth Odomegu? Well, he's still on the team. We're just answering everyone's questions now. I don't quite understand the premise for that question, but he's on the practice squad. He's the IPP player exemption, so he is not, in danger of being cut. Marquette for 3 at the buzzer. Misses.
Nope.
Marquette loses by 3.
It's a good game, though.
5 minutes ago.
They were trailing most of the game. Actually, they were trailing pretty much the entire game, but they scratched and clawed their way, and they gave the number 2 team in the country. I mean, Purdue will be number 1 next week. Probably Marquette's going to be the number 2 team in the country. They're gonna get up there because they beat number 1 Kansas. Maybe Kansas is a little bit overrated, but they gave Purdue everything they could handle. So good ball game. They did.
And because Vegas is a genius, the spread was +3.
There you go. Vegas is almost never wrong.
Ever. From @Hartzheim Tyler Daniel, Love continues to show growth week after week. Exactly what this season was about. Do you think an extension gets done before the end of the season or before free agency? Draft your LT of the future and spend some money in free agency. I am retiring from making predictions about when Jordan Love's going to sign an extension because 2 games into the season, I said there's a chance he signs one midway through the season, and then he and the rest of the offense kind of fizzled out. If he continues on this trajectory, though, this is what I'll say. If he continues on this trajectory and keeps improving, he'll end the season in a pretty darn good spot. I don't think an in-season extension is in the cards, but I could see them redoing that deal and signing him to maybe a long-term, multi-year extension after this season and before the final season on his contract, which would be 2024. So as to not take the risk of him going out next season, really improving some more, and then costing them more money or hitting free agent. I mean, if he kept playing well next season, they would just lock him up in the middle of the season. But I think they want to save a couple coins where they can. So if he is still improving by the time we get to, week 17, week 18, I could see an extension done before next season for sure.
Yeah, I think it's possible. I mean, this is what the Packers wanted to see. This is really realistically what everybody should have been kind of expecting. Not that he was going to have a trajectory, but it's been a couple of games now. I think that it was important for a lot of reasons for the Packers to win that game against the Chargers as they had that fourth quarter comeback just for the quarterback's confidence. And, even at this level, it is still an important thing. And for a first-year starting quarterback, I mean, they've invested a lot in Jordan Love. They've invested, yes, the salary that he has gotten and the salary that he will get. That's, just part of the investment. But they've really invested time in Jordan Love. They've really invested the entirety, really, of the Matt LaFleur era almost in Jordan Love. I mean, Matt LaFleur was the head coach for only one season before they drafted Love to be the heir apparent. And every day since, from the time he was drafted in 2020 to today, he's been learning and absorbing Matt LaFleur's offense. So that's the real investment. That's why I always cringe when I see Packers fans, air quote. I mean, I think, listen, I believe that you're a fan. I just don't believe that we have the same path forward for what I think is best for this team. I see so many on the talk and text line and, via Twitter and other social media messages that say, well, I just want him to fail so they can just flush him and get, Caleb Williams or whomever in the draft next year. And I come back and I say, I want Jordan Love to succeed. I want Jordan Love. Listen, I don't think that he's going to necessarily be the third straight Hall of Fame quarterback that this franchise has pumped out. That's an almost impossible task. But I do want him to succeed because of all of the time that they've put into Jordan Love. If he succeeds, that's one more huge position, the most important position in all of sports, that's taken care of. They don't have to worry about for a long time. That's what you want if you're a Packers fan. Not for him to fail so they can go invest another 3 years in another guy who they think is going to be, the guy, and then they'll waste that time and flush him, and then they'll have to keep doing what the Chicago Bears have been doing for the last 30 years, 40 years, 50 years.
And here's the thing. The Packers have already won too many games this season to have a chance at Caleb Williams or Drake May.
Yeah.
They could lose out and still not get any of them. And guess what? They're not going to lose out because they have the Panthers, the Bears, the Giants on their schedule. Worst case scenario, the Packers get the 5th pick if they win one of their remaining games, but they're going to win more than that, more than likely. So they're kind of in a funky middle ground where the people who wanted them to lose to get a better draft pick, that's gone. And right now, even if you lose out, you might not get a top 3 pick. The Panthers aren't winning 3 more games this year. The Cardinals might not win 2 more games. Who knows about the Bears? Like, Packers could lose out and get the 4th pick and end up with a left tackle. So for all those people wanting Marvin Harrison Jr. and Caleb Williams and Drake May, I don't blame you, but I think the rooting interest might need to shift. And obviously, I respect a Packer fan who says I can never root for the team to lose regardless. I respect the hell out of that, but I think that's the realistic option for all fans now. And just a note, because the end of that question advised to draft your left tackle of the future and spend some money in free agency. I'm on over the cap right now. The Packers, when I go to 2024, currently have $22.8 million in cap space. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22nd in the league. 22.8 million approximately. But you remember, if they trade or release David Bakhtiari, that frees up 21.5 million alone, which would bring them to, if my math is correct, 44.3 million, which would move them up a couple spots. And there's always different contracts they can redo and guys they can cut or trade. And I would imagine David Bakhtiari is not on this team next year. So that's just one thing they can do to open up that cap space, maybe go after some guys to keep surrounding Jordan Love with talent. Let's get to the next question. From @PolkaTornado. Will this come to be known as the Patrick Taylor, Tucker Kraft, Bo Melton, Henry Pearson game?
That's a great question.
If the Packers win and those guys are the stars, the Packers might just win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, if the Packers win that and they go on to win the Super Bowl, I promise you name all those players again. The Bo Melton, Patrick Taylor, Tucker Kraft.
Taylor, Henry Pearson.
I'll make that into a Packers Prime Classic for next summer.
All right, here's a question for you, Doug.
Yeah.
Over, under, half a touch for Henry Pearson. I say over.
Yeah, I say over.
And not a run.
He's there for a reason. He's there for a reason.
Well, he's there to block, but I think he gets.
But he's going to be a safety valve.
Right. I think they'll have over, under half a design touch. I'm going over. Maybe he's a check down option, but maybe there's like a bootleg on 4th and 1 where Henry Pearson kind of leaks out. Nobody's covering him because nobody thinks Jordan Love's going to throw him the ball, and they hit him for 6 yards or something. I'm going over half a touch for Henry Pearson.
I would say I would give the under on design plays for him, but I think he's going to be like the last progression, maybe once or twice. So I will say I'm going to take the over, but I don't know that they're going to have anything designed for him.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong.
This will be an interesting game for Tucker Kraft because the coaches seem high on what he can do. Matt LaFleur said the other day that he's been pleased with Kraft's development, not only in the passing game, but as a blocker. And obviously he just put his best play of the season in the passing game, as a pass catcher on tape with that 27-yard catch and run on the flat route against the Chargers. He's being thrust into the number 1 pass catching role now without Luke Musgrave. And he's going to be because Musgrave is out for at least the next 4 weeks. Josiah DeGuara has never really been a pass catcher. So Tucker Kraft's going to get a chance to show why the Packers drafted him so high. And I thought it was interesting. Christian Watson's dad tweeted, not about Christian Watson and Jordan Love, but about Tucker Kraft, because he said when Christian was at North Dakota State and Tucker Kraft was at South Dakota State, Tucker Kraft did some damage. He can be a guy now doing damage against FCS competition. Is much different than doing it against the Detroit Lions and the Kansas City Chiefs. It might not be that much different from doing it against the New York Giants, but Tucker Kraft's going to get his chance. He's got some skill. He's going to have his chance to shine.
How much more of a blocker, though, do you project him out to be than a pass catcher? I mean, overall, if Musgrave, I know Musgrave's not there, but if Musgrave was healthy. Is he more of a catcher or is he more of a blocker long term, do you think?
I would say more of a blocker just because of what they've had him doing. He's had 5 catches all season. And look, maybe they're just waiting for him to grow into more of a pass catcher, and then they expand his role and really have a nice 1-2 punch at tight end. But my inclination is to say blocker just because of what they've had him do early on in the season.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, your time to shine is now. I mean, they call them
Yeah.
battlefield promotions for a reason, and some guys are able to take it and run with it, and other guys aren't. And his team needs him right now. There's a saying, I don't know how much I agree with it, but by the time you reach the halfway point of your rookie season, you're not really a rookie anymore. I don't know if I buy that. There's still a lot of growth that guys that
What about the rookie wall, Doug?
there is the rookie wall. I mean, I think that's a real thing.
Sure.
So I mean, you talk to some guys in the locker room though, and they'll say, this late in the season, you're not a rookie anymore. Well, but you are. And with Tucker Kraft, he's spent the last, when was he drafted? The end of April, May. Yeah, I mean, he should be comfortable enough with the playbook that I think that he can make a difference. He can make an impact. I just think that this is the wrong week. It's a short week, and they're going up against a really good team. And that, to me, doesn't bode well for the Packers. There's a reason they play the games, but as you know, I don't do predictions. But and I'm not a betting man, but I think this is going to be a challenging game for the Packers overall. You look at the injury report, you look at their opponent, and they haven't done well against the Lions. They're riding a 4-game losing streak, or against the Lions, I should say. And so I wish them well. I want to see all these kids succeed. I want to see Tucker Kraft succeed. So it's his time to shine. We'll see what he does.
Yeah, Dan Campbell has owned Matt LaFleur of late, as you said, 4 wins in a row. Now, one of those, I believe, the last game of the 2021 season was when Jordan Love played a half and the Packers had already locked up the number 1 seed. So I don't know if that one necessarily counts, but certainly the last 3 do.
Mm-hmm.
So the Lions have certainly gotten the better of the Packers recently. Now, a notable thing from the injury report that I forgot to mention was Jaden Reed coming back, I guess, closer to where he went to college, in the same state where he went to college.
Yeah, Michigan State.
He was added to the injury report yesterday with a chest injury, and Matt LaFleur said it became more of a problem yesterday. He was not listed on the injury report. Man, if I say that word fast, I'm not going to get it out right. Injury report estimation on Monday, but then he was on Tuesday. And LaFleur said that Reed came in, he was dealing with that chest kind of injury, ailment, soreness, whatever you want to call it, during the game. And it just wasn't a problem the day after. Then it became more of a problem. But much to the joy of Packer fans, Reed was taken off the injury report, and he is good to go for tomorrow's game. Other guys fully taken off the report: Kenny Clark, Rashawn Gary, Christian Watson, Corey Ballantyne, guys who were on it earlier in the week, although they were listed as estimated full participants. So overall, not as much of a crap storm that I thought this game status report was going to be. We got to head to our first break. Afterward, we're talking Thanksgiving. We're talking Thanksgiving foods, Thanksgiving sides. If you have any questions, 414-799-1973. We're heading into our first break. We'll talk to you on the other side right here on the Matt Schneidman Show on the Game. Holiday shopping just got a whole lot easier. Now through November 28th, when you buy $50 or more, use promo code CYBER30 to get 30% off of the entire Iron Jock collection. 30% off of quarter zips, hoodies, jackets, polos, men's, women's, everything. Give the gift of Iron Jock this holiday season. Go to ironjock.com. That's ironjoc.com. Doug, you know how much I love my Iron Jock. I'm going to start begging for more free stuff. They have given me the gray hoodie, the non-hoodie kind of Under Armour type long sleeve workout shirt, but this is better than Under Armour. This is Iron Jock. And then the kind of zip up golf pullover, if you will. They're all really good. And, you know, when I first heard about Iron Jock, you said, oh, it doesn't smell when you sweat. I was like, all right, let's test this out. It really doesn't.
It's the Silver Iron technology.
Breathable fabric, you know, you can work out in it. I love my Iron Jock. Do they have other products besides, you know, topwear?
They have socks.
Okay. Love me some socks.
I think they're working on a couple of other things too, but I do know that they have, you know, like I said, the socks. They've got, well, they got pants. They've got workout pants. They got shorts. So that's not topwear. So yeah, they've got a couple things.
I need some more of it.
Yeah.
Everybody
needs some more of it.
I'm getting in the gym more because I want to rename my podcast with John Kuhn, the Brick and the Brick podcast. I'm trying to become less of a stick. Okay. And obviously mixing in some cardio. I play in a men's soccer league weekly, not this week because it's Thanksgiving week, but you know, there's a gym on my floor here at the hotel in Detroit that I'll go to after the show's over. But if you want to become more of a blob and less of a brick or less of a stick, you'll just scarf down Thanksgiving dishes. That's why they pay me the big bucks, because it transitions like that. We've already talked about how my favorite Thanksgiving side is my mother's sweet potatoes with the roasted marshmallows on top. Just tremendous every year. I'm not a turkey guy, but I don't hate it as vehemently as you do.
Yeah, it's just awful. I mean, the way it's just a trash food. And I don't know how, you know, we haven't had this discussion as a society yet about how bad Thanksgiving food really actually is. And I'm happy that we're at a place where we can discuss these things openly without being shamed. Although you put some things on social media and you're going to get shamed anyway, as I have from some friends who still insist that, no, I really do like turkey. And I really do like, you know, yams and cranberry sauce and all that nonsense. So, hey, listen, if that's what you want to do, knock yourself out.
Don't actually knock yourself out. We don't want that. What are your thoughts on, actually, I know this answer already, stuffing and cranberries? I don't love stuffing. Just like the presentation of it, it doesn't taste bad. Cranberries, I'm all right with. Mashed potatoes, just plain, I'm not a fan of. Pumpkin pie, I could go with. But you're right. You know, when I think of what do I want to eat at any time in the day, never do I say I want X, and X being a food that I would otherwise have at Thanksgiving. I want to hear from you all. Shoot a text into the HellaWI.com. Today it's just the text line since we're working technologically depleted. Me being in Detroit in a hotel room and not in the studio in the WNFL studio, 414-799-1973. What's your go-to Thanksgiving side? And do you hate turkey as much as Doug Russell does?
Yeah, that's true. No, one of the things I don't like pumpkin pie either. I mean, just the whole Thanksgiving palate is just awful on every level. Yeah. But I do like, if you want to hand me a cherry pie, okay, now we're talking. You want to give me an apple pie? Okay. Now we're talking. I had one friend who said, you know what? I like turkey so much, I eat it in the summertime. And if I had my red challenge flag, she lives in Boston, so I couldn't virtually throw it at her, but I'm like, I think you're full of crap. I don't know that anyone really likes to have turkey in July unless you're going to the Ren Fair. Now, if you're going to the Ren Fair, okay, because that's what they sell. But you're also, you know, it's 100 degrees out and you're walking around with jousters and people that are wearing way too many clothes because that's what they did back in medieval times. And I don't know why anyone wants to revisit that in the first place. It exists and people go to it, and apparently they like it. So fine, knock yourself out. That's less of a crowd everywhere else in the world for me, I guess. But yeah, I mean, just the whole palate. Stuffing. I think I used to like stuffing when I was a kid, and I'm not sure why, because it's just wet bread.
That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah. So I like like you put some vodka in a cranberry. I mean, that's a nice, refreshing summer drink. So I mean, I'll take it there, but I don't want it solidified into a sauce. I don't really need that. Green bean casserole is gross on every level. I'm trying to come up with one food that's quote unquote traditionally Thanksgiving that to me just isn't terrible, and I can't do it.
You mentioned something interesting about turkey. I don't think your friend is joking, but I will say,
I don't think she's lying to me. It would be an odd thing for her to lie to me about.
Thanksgiving turkey is different than just turkey you get over the deli counter. I can do that.
Yeah, I can do that. That's okay. The deli turkey, like if it's sliced real thin and put into a sandwich, I can do that.
Right. I'm a big deli meats guy.
Mhm.
You know, whether it's cheese or
Sure.
pepperoni, salami, turkey, but if it's coming right off a bird, no. And not even a turkey leg. I'll do a chicken leg if it's got some seasoning on it and some pepper.
Sure.
But
If
plain
it's got
turkey,
maybe 8 herbs and spices, who's to say?
plain turkey,
Those 11 herbs and spices, yeah.
plain turkey. If I'm gonna eat turkey at Thanksgiving, it's got to have gravy on it, and it's got to, it's got to be, just everything mixed together on the plate. I'm not the type of guy who will separate everything on his plate. It's all going to the same place. And those cranberries and the stuffing and the gravy soaking into the turkey, it makes it taste better because I can't just do a bland, dry turkey.
Yeah. Whenever I think of turkey, I think of the vacation movie when Chevy Chase knifes into it and then it just kind of explodes into this dry,
Christmas
disgusting.
Vacation?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's kind of what I think. We do have a couple on the talk and text line. Jake in Waukesha writes in, and he has a question for me. I'm not sure why. Hey, Doug, is it okay for people to have a drink today, Wednesday, or does Matt want us to wait until Friday still?
That's funny. And you're allowed to do whatever you want. Just do it responsibly, please.
Yes. Let's see. Jessman in the 608. It's not a question about Thanksgiving, but he did have a question about Tucker Kraft, which we kind of talked about in the first segment. He said, is this Tucker Kraft's time to shine? Yeah, maybe.
I for sure hope so.
Yeah.
Now we're about to see what he's got. I was talking with the guys on 9 to Noon this morning. This is a chance for a lot of guys to step up. Now, it reminds me, in a way, I'm not drawing an exact parallel, to the game a couple of years ago when the Packers went into Arizona. I believe they were 6-1. The Cardinals were 7-0. Packers were without their top 3 receivers in Devontae because of COVID, Lazard because he was a close contact while unvaccinated, and MVS because of an injury, I believe. And they had to rely on Randall Cobb and Juwan Winfrey. And sure, they don't have Aaron Rodgers right now, and they're not 6-1. But this is an opportunity for some more guys to step up. Now, there are a couple guys who haven't played huge roles who have to step up, and I'm not exactly sure if they'll be able to. But as Devondre Campbell said on an unrelated note earlier this week, I've seen crazier things in the NFL. It would be crazy if the Packers win tomorrow, though. It really would be. There's a reason they're 7.5-point underdogs.
Yeah, I mean, then they should be 7.5-point underdogs. Stubby in the 920. I don't know where this is coming from because I think that we said exactly the opposite. I know I did. Said, and you guys think that Love is the next Favre and Rodgers? You're fools. Like I don't think anybody.
When did I say that?
I don't think anybody said that.
No, I don't think anyone did.
I don't think anybody said that.
Pay attention,
Stubby, come on.
Come on.
There's always a quiz after the show.
Happy Thanksgiving, though.
Yeah. And for many, it's not even Thanksgiving. For many, it's Drunksgiving. So just, be responsible. That's all I ask. Just be responsible.
Just be responsible. We got to get to another break. On the other side, we will wrap up this pre-Thanksgiving edition of the Matt Schneidman Show. getting you set for Packers-Lions tomorrow morning, 11:30 a.m. local. Actually, no, 12:30 a.m. local kickoff time, 11:30 a.m. Central kickoff time, because Michigan is in the Eastern time zone. So stick with us. We'll be right back after the break, right here on the Matt Schneidman Show on the Game. Back here on the Matt Schneidman Show, wrapping up this pre-Thanksgiving edition. Since I talked about it, I don't remember if I talked about it on this show, but I know John and I touched on it on our podcast, The Brick and the Stick, last week, and I told this story on 9 to Noon this morning. We had talked about Devondre Campbell and, him refusing to talk to the media. So there's been an update to this situation. So as I described on The Brick and the Stick, for each NFL city or NFL team, there is a PFWA chapter representative. So PFWA is the Pro Football Writers of America. For Green Bay, it's Rob Demovsky. So if a player goes a long time without talking to reporters, the rule of thumb that PR staff set out is players are supposed to make themselves available at least once during the week and after each game. Devondre Campbell, I think, talked once overall through the first 11 weeks of the season, refused to talk. And the PFWA chapter president can go to the Packers PR staff and say, can you work with this guy to talk? If they refuse, which Devondre Campbell still did after he was approached by Packers PR, then the PFWA chapter president goes to the PFWA president. And then the PFWA president goes to the league. And the league mails a written letter to the Packers facility that says, if you continue refusing to talk, you are risking a fine of $25,000. It was our understanding that Devondre Campbell still wasn't going to talk. Now, I don't know if it's because he has some personal gripe with someone in the media or he just doesn't like doing it. Doesn't matter to me. But this week was kind of our last chance to try and get him, or then he was going to be fined $25K. So Rob goes up to him in the locker room and asks Devondre if he has a second to talk, and he goes, I'll be right back, and then walks into the shower. And I was like, I don't know if he's going to come back. But he did, and he talked for like 15 minutes, and he was fine.
Wow.
So no fine. A couple of years ago, my first year covering the team in 2019, Jimmy Graham took the $25,000 fine, and if you continue not talking, then you risk further fines. And I don't know if they keep increasing in size. Jimmy Graham took the fine and then started talking, which seemed a little counterintuitive to me, or counterproductive, I should say. But Devondre Campbell, no fine. Back in the good graces of media. Now, this wasn't we hate Devondre Campbell. We really want to talk to him. It was more of a principle of, we don't want all the young guys in the locker room to think they can just not talk to reporters and get away with it, because our job as reporters is to tell the story of the team and the players for the readers, for the fans. And I think an important part of that story is the veteran middle linebacker who's a leader and a big-time player on this team.
Was there ever any, I guess, insight as to why he didn't want to? By the way, $25,000, I know these guys make a lot of money, no question. And for some of them, it would feel like $25,000 is, couch cushion money. But there will come a time where they wish they had an extra 25 grand laying around. I can't believe anyone would take that fine as opposed to just, sucking it up for, like you said, 15 minutes. It baffles me how anyone would do that. But is there any insight possibly as to why Devondre Campbell did not want to speak with the media?
No, I don't know. I have no idea. But he overcame whatever reason that was, talked to us for about, maybe 10, 15 minutes or so, 10 minutes probably. And I asked him 2 questions, maybe got a combined 6 or 7 words in those answers, but he did it. And that's all we asked for. You're not required to give good answers. You're required to talk. And
Marshawn Lynch, famously, I'm just here to not get fined.
Listen, and I respect that. I appreciate it. Maybe he liked it so much that he'll continue talking.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, I don't think anybody's out to get him.
No, I don't think so either.
But I think that some of these athletes, for whatever reason, not the majority of them by the long shot, but there are some that feel like that there's some sort of vendetta against them. And I think that it's more of a problem in different markets, perhaps, when there's more of a concentrated media and there's more of an embrace debate type of fandom. I think specifically out east, perhaps, Philadelphia, your hometown of New York, perhaps, where there's just more of a concentration of that goes on, and there's higher scrutiny. And I don't always, sometimes it's the loudest voice, not the most intelligent voice that gets heard. And that's unfortunate. So, I wondered how Aaron Rodgers was going to survive in the New York media. I suspected, being the veteran that he is, he'd be fine. But, He had it pretty good in Green Bay. I know he doesn't always think that he had it pretty good in Green Bay, but he had it pretty good in Green Bay. Then he gets hurt and he doesn't have to talk to anybody. So
except Pat McAfee.
Except for Pat McAfee, where he goes on and gets paid, which is fine.
Yeah,
there's a lot of guys that do that.
I have no problem with that, by the way.
Yeah, no,
you should get paid. Do you think I'd be doing this radio show if I wasn't paid?
Same. I'm honestly same.
Yeah, me too. And
yeah.
I don't think Tim Scott would have a problem with us saying that.
No, I mean, he doesn't do his job for free. And his boss doesn't do his job for free. So I don't care that, whatever. I mean, it happens all the time. There are
time is money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, but, it goes the other way too, apparently with, I didn't realize that it was a $25,000 fine. If you don't speak to the media at all after repeated requests. But yeah, I mean, it's like, it's in, I think, everybody's best interest to get their own story out. Right. I mean, that makes the most sense. But again, there are some, I wouldn't even say reporters. I think there are some talking heads that are out there that they're after their own agenda, and they don't come from a place of, being genuine about wanting to tell the story. And, I don't want to, just name names, Skip Bayless, but there are some that are just frauds that have no business even being in the media, but they've got really good agents and they've conned these networks into believing that what they say matters. But when you have absolutely no credibility, like Skip Bayless, sometimes it's just the loudest voice in the room that gets heard.
So when are you going to start naming names if that wasn't naming names?
Yeah, I hate doing that, but sometimes you have to, so there's no ambiguity about what I'm saying. Skip Bayless is a fraud.
Tell me how you really feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen.
He knows he's a fraud. This is not news to Skip Bayless. He knows he's a fraud.
Fair enough. All right. I know you don't do predictions. I'm trying to remember what I said on Monday. I think I gave a prediction on Monday. I might have said 28-17 Lions. I still think the Lions are going to win. I would be stunned if the Packers win. It would be an incredible win for them. And listen, I've said it. If they win one of their next two games, I think they make the playoffs. Because then they probably just need to win 4 out of their last 5 to make the dance. And we've told you their last 5 games before. It's the Giants, the Bucs,
who suck,
the Panthers. Yeah. The Bucs were, I think, 3-1. Now they're 4-6, below the Packers in the standings. It's the Giants, the Bucs, the Panthers, the Vikings, and the Bears.
I feel okay about that. I don't know that I feel spectacular about those chances. Certainly it's possible that the Packers could make the playoffs. I absolutely don't rule it out. But as is with a young team, there's still the very real possibility, and I'm not rooting for it, I'm just putting it out there, that there is a possibility that they're going to gack one up against a team that they probably shouldn't. They could also steal one, too.
That's what I was going to say. Is there just as much of a possibility that an opponent gacks one up against the Packers team that they shouldn't?
Sure.
Gax.
Absolutely.
What does gax even mean?
It means like choke it up, like, gack it up like that.
Yak. Okay. Fair enough.
Yak. Yeah.
Same thing. I think, I wonder if the Packers, they probably have thought about it, but they always defer if they win the toss. A lot of teams do that play the Packers. You ever think about just taking the ball, trying to go down and set the tone? Now, granted, it worked out last time for them when they played the Lions because Rudy Ford intercepted Jared Goff on the first drive of the game. But the Packers only turned that into 3 points on a short field. So the Lions, in a way, got the momentum even allowing 3 points.
Mm-hmm.
And then they, went on to score 27 in the first half, and the game was already over. But Packers need to punch first tomorrow. They can't find themselves in another hole. They got to establish the run, as I've said all week, get that going. And maybe if they keep it within one score in the fourth quarter, you never know. We've seen crazy things happen at this stadium before. In 2019, the year the Lions went, I think that's the year before they took Penei Sewell, number 5. The Packers didn't lead for a single second of game time in 2 games against the Lions. Packers went 13-3. Lions won like 4 games that year. Mason Crosby hit a walk-off field goal at Lambeau Field and at Ford Field. The only time the Packers led in both games, was with triple zeros on the clock. Some
Yep.
funky stuff happens between these two teams.
Without a doubt. I go back to calendar year 1994, where you can look it up. These two teams played 5 times.
That too. And Aaron Rodgers threw 3 red zone interceptions last year against these guys. Some funky stuff happens at Ford Field.
Yeah, funky stuff happens between these two teams. See, if you got that much history between them, I guess that happens.
Packers game day, what time tomorrow morning?
7 a.m.
7 a.m. Stay tuned then. For Doug, I'm Matt. We appreciate you listening. As always, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. This has been the Matt Schneidman Show on the Game. All righty. Oh, the stream's still live.
Oh, yeah, let's turn that off. No promo, obviously.